Okay, so here's the deal. I was hesitant about actually reading this article and going into details about it. And the reality, to be fair, is that the Biden administration has been known to hide extremely large details that, and then, it's like everything's like, oh, that's a UFO. That's obviously UFO. And then the Biden administration's like, no, that's an air balloon made out of smoke. No. So a lot of the conspiracies, a lot of them have turned out to be true. So when I read through this, and this is from Newsmax staff, which is a reputable news source, just like CNN, just like Fox News, although it leans obviously to the right. I'm going to let you decide whether or not you think this is likely accurate. I'm going to read to you what it has to say. I saw some saucy comments right in the very beginning. I thought that was hilarious too, because Timmy Jupiter said, after combing the internet, I don't get your video's title. President Biden connected to SSA fraud. Have you reported your findings to the Office of the Inspector General? One would think if this were occurring and basically, Biden had to stop what he was doing with immigration as a result of it, that not only was OIG fully aware of it, but also, let's call it like it is, very likely the commissioner was aware of it. Because remember, the OIG, Inspector General was just pulled out. The Republican put in by Trump, she just retired. Because she was facing basically, some potential lawsuits about abuse of power, right? Because she went after, although allegedly, we'll keep it at that. She went after whistleblowers, right? So the Democrats were like, you out. And so then there's the other side, which is, of course, Commissioner Keisha Kazi was in, and then they put in a politician who's actually doing an amazing job. I really think Commissioner, Martin O'Malley's doing an amazing job. I really like him. I think he's awesome. Like I would have preferred him to run instead of VP Harris. I would have definitely looked at voting for Commissioner Martin O'Malley. He's been doing a great job with the SSA. He's been running that business and getting it going. And a lot of stuff is pro claimant as opposed to pro SSA, which, Commissioner Saul was like pro SSA stuff. But this article, I think is very interesting. Let's see what the next one says. It says, it's wax on wax. It's going to be up to us on January 6, 2025 to tell the rampaging Trump mobs that he's disqualified. So, and then what was this? Vikings reach. Lies. So you have to understand, you have to take your emotions with this stuff and realize that this video is going to answer whether or not Biden is somehow connected to fraud on Social Security benefits through DHS. Right? Department, immigration, basically having people come into this country, having them go ahead and put things on forms that aren't accurate. And then they get Social Security benefits as a result. And then as a result of that, it's taking away money that normally should be used for, other immigrants, entrants, asylum seekers, migrants, etc., refugees, and Americans. And so you get to decide whether or not you believe that this is realistically going on. I think the major thing to keep in mind with this is to take all of your emotion, because everybody's so hyped. Everybody's so pumped about their party. Nobody cared about VP Harris, and now VP Harris is like the belle of the ball, right? And, Trump, they can't keep him out of the news. I would say he is more in the news than like all the presidents ever combined. I don't know if that's true, but I mean, that seems like what it feels like. It feels like 24/7 Trump news. He's just, whether it's bad news about him or good news about him, he's in the spotlight all the time. I don't know how you do that. I mean, that is like, guys should open up a YouTube channel and just post a lot, and he'd be doing just fine. All right. Newsmax staff, Friday, 2nd August 2024, 6:47 p.m. This was published. Biden admin halts migrant flights, cites massive fraud. The Department of Homeland Security is abruptly stopping a program that has allowed close to 500,000 immigrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela into the United States following allegations of widespread fraud, reported the New York Post. Okay. The advanced travel authorizations for what's been dubbed a humanitarian parole program has allowed up to 30,000 migrants into the U.S. since January 2023. The move comes after an internal DHS report found thousands of sponsors. This is the important part right here. DHS report found thousands of sponsors for the migrants listing fake social security numbers and phone numbers, including in some instances those that belong to people who were dead. Now, there are ways that you can get social security numbers to be created and given to you from the SSA, right? There was one guy who, basically called the SSA over and over until he figured it out. If you have a kid under, I think it's like 12 months or something, and he reported, I've never done this, but he reported that he just called them and said, look, we had the birth. The kid basically was not registered through a hospital. It was outside of the medical system. And as a result, doesn't have a social security number, yada, yada. So blah, blah, blah. He claimed that the SSA, because it was under 12 years old, sent him a new social security number attached to that child, the fake child's name. And that he was able to repeat this process over and over to create basically, fake social security numbers. Now, with that said, that was just one guy. Mark Richard, thank you for the $19.99 donation. That's absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. That's awesome. Diana Fernandez, howdy. How we doing? How are you? How are the fur babies? The fur babies are good. Sweetie looks like a Krispy Kreme, and Shadow looks like a what is that? It's the donut that's like, it's like a donut, and then it's got like black on top, a little bit of white. A Sinclair? A Sinclair? I'm not sure. It's that donut. He looks like that donut. All right. Point is this. I think realistically, and I think everybody would agree, that the whole immigration situation was totally out of control. But to be fair, the Supreme Court to some degree validated the president playing that card, right? Because governmental immunity, right? So what a lot of people who are like, yes, Trump. And I'm like, okay, but realize President Biden is not seeking a second term. He's now got governmental immunity as a president. He can do whatever the hell he wants and kind of get away with it, right? To some degree, right? Within that ruling. So I think, like, to be fair, you know what I mean? Like, this might not be the best chess move for the Trump team. You know what I mean? Because the Biden team has like the ultimate Joker card, or the ultimate like get out of jail card, or the ultimate like, get around the Monopoly board and pick all the Park Places and whatever. What was the other one? There was Park Place and something else. I forget it. Park Place, and there was like one over there that was really important. That basically, if you got it, you would destroy everybody. It actually worked just like America, where all the good spots were taken and then they charged everybody ridiculous. It's just like America, All right, so here we go. The move comes after an internal DHS report found thousands of sponsors for the migrants listing fake social security numbers and phone numbers, including in some instances those that belong to people who were dead. Do I believe the SSA has a firm grasp on the fake social security number problem? I wouldn't call it an epidemic, but I don't know. It might be one. I don't know. There was one person who actually wrote me a really snarky, like little thing here. Let me read it to you real quick. And then I looked for it and I couldn't find it. I don't know if he erased it or YouTube got it. Okay, here it is. This is what the person said. Contrary to popular belief, SSA employees are not paid well, which I've been telling you guys for years and years. They have to go through grueling, extensive training, which is very true. It's a miserable process. And when you get these college kids straight out of college, they're not up for it. Some of them are, but most of them, are not considered fully trained until they reach GS-08. You are hired generally as a GS-04 or GS-05, and are the bearers of the anger and the frustration of the public regarding policies they did not create. That's super true. I've said that 1,000 times. Try to be nice to the SSA people, because their job is filled with anger and hate. People just bash them. They bash them. They're seriously overworked with huge unmanageable workloads and strict quality control and performance expectations. Very true. They have programs that watch them, right? That then send notifications to other people. And then they're seriously overworked. As for helping a buddy out, it's illegal to process a claim for a family member, friend, or coworker. That's true, because that they link those people to like red flags them. Their system red lines. Yeah, there you go. If you access the social security number of anyone in the categories, along with celebrities, sending an alert to system security. Please don't make general. Oh, so now he's gonna call me out. Please don't make general statements such as these. So here's the thing. My general statements about SSA employees having abused the social security system are validated specifically by the federal government when it comes to OIG and the prosecutors that then sued and won against the SSA employees who abuse the system. Like the most classic one that you see pop up are basically SSA employees creating children that aren't real and then assigning them to somebody who died. And then at that point, going ahead and basically giving checks, survivors checks to those fake children, and then depositing those funds somewhere, to Cash Apps or PayPal or this account or that account, whatever. So and this person's obviously either a current SSA employee or somebody who basically is just got out of it or something like that. So this person's saying, you must respect the honor of a Social Security employee. And I do. I treat many of them very, very, very well. I'm very kind to them. I have a lot of amazing relationships with a lot of them because I know the shit that they go through. I get it. I live that line. I live that life, right? But at the same time, right here we go. Let me read it to you again. Please don't make general statements such as these. I'm not sure what you were talking about when you said a bunch of politicians collected benefits for their children. Nobody heard anything about this. And if true, and they weren't due payments, they would be committing fraud and could be punished with a federal prison stint. Yeah, well, here's the thing. When the politicians want to reach out to the Social Security Administration, there was literally a rule on the books for dire need that they just removed that said if there would be adverse public relations issues, they could go ahead and expedite the claim. And I do know from talking with politicians and interacting with them that when they need something to be done with the SSA or they're checking in on something, they have staff potentials to reach out to them and say, hey, what's the status on this? Where is this going? Da, 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 da. I know that, this is all right, because this person's trying to rip me a new one. Let me just say this. There are employers and employees, employers and employees, ERs and EEs. Most people on planet Earth will always end up being EEs, employees, people who follow programs that are pre-created that they will exist within. And then you have over here employers, people who work with unknown systems and programs and create and customize systems and programs so that employees can work within them to create money, right? Or just work the system and make it work. These guys know, and girls, right? And women and men and people and everybody in between. These people know that these programs called CMS systems, client management systems, you can go ahead and change stuff in them if you need to, right? So if you have access to, the ability to do administrative functions to it. Okay, so let's just take for a moment and say somebody needed to go ahead and alter something that they didn't want it to show that they were altering, right? All you have to do is create a new profile in the system, right? New identification number profile, and have that individual change the thing and then delete that profile so that when you go search that profile doesn't exist anymore. Or you could go ahead and remove, right, any of the actual click notations where it captures, where you went, what you did. Yeah, you can just go in and delete those. You can. It's in the server. It's on a sheet. You can grab them. You can delete them. You can make this comma meet that comma and take everything out in between. The point is, the employees don't understand that these programs are created to be modified, customized, etc. They have to be, because the program's always growing and they're trying new things and they're innovating. So the employees are like, oh my goodness, you have to fit within the bubble. If you don't fit within the bubble, it's not going to work. You're going to get caught. Yes, lower level employees, absolutely. But when you get to the highest level, whether it's a government agency, not saying the SSA is doing this, right, in the direct sense, right? But I do know that there have been specifically grandmothers, and cousins who I knew of these politicians who, like that, were found disabled. And here's the thing. Here's the thing. And I want you to just hear me out on this, okay? And I understand that some people are going to say, no, the system is perfect. It's, nothing can be changed. The coding is definitive. The coding was dipped in concrete the moment it hit the ground. No. The way, here, I'll read the rest of it for you guys so you can see. Most government employees on the lower levels, like customer service or in the field office, are hardworking people who want to serve the public. I've said that many times. Take a look at the hiring requirements. Many applicants don't make it through the training. Be kind to them, so few are. I'm very kind to them. I'm extremely kind to them. But I also call total BS when it comes to higher level individuals that have the capacity to alter the program, boundaries. Because every program has things that you can modify. If you have a square and you need to add something to it, you can add a pipeline to it to something else. That's just a key command. But again, employees, they don't know that. They live in programs. Employers, they design systems. That's the difference. People who live in employee land always think that there's checks and balances and that you can't get, through those, they'll catch you, all that stuff. But yet, if you go look at the OIG website, Office of Inspector General, you will see people who, even at those lower levels, found a way to beat the system, create fake humans, create fake social security numbers, give those fake humans survivors benefits, and pull the money out. Those are the ones that get caught that we hear about. Now, does this mean we have an epidemic of social security numbers just willy-nilly all over the place? I doubt it. I very much so doubt it. But then at the same time, to be fair, if there are hundreds of millions of social security numbers, you would have to understand that, it wouldn't be out of the realm to create an extra 10,000, 20,000 to do the bidding of something. And remember, it doesn't take a super high level person, although it's supposed to take a person and a manager to go ahead and create a social security number for a new person, right? There's supposed to be a check and balance on that, but not necessarily for the higher level developmental people. You start seeing the difference there. What they create a system that the employees are supposed to follow, and then employers that have developmental administrative access to the back end. Okay. This person is what I call a classic. You know what it reminds me of? And this is going to sound terrible. This is going to sound really bad. But remember when I made that video about people using, right? And when I said, oh yeah, they'll rub that on their gums. And they're like, nobody rubs that stuff on their gums. And I was like, no, if you're a user, right? If you're a user and you don't do that, that means that you're a user who's poor. And I don't mean it in a mean way. I don't mean it in a mean way. It's just that is literally the way it is. You buy what you can get from who's ever going to sell it to you that you know. Whereas rich people have literal rooms in their mansions for all of the crazy stuff that they want to do. So they can mix and match and have fun and do whatever they want. So, but that's literally it. It's you can only use it for this purpose. And the people who literally customize a room in their house for all the stuff they want to do. Okay. So it's my little rant on that. But now you understand that there is literally a difference. Eclair, thank you so much. Shoulder tube, I appreciate it. It's an eclair donut. I forgot what it was called. So, with that said, now you understand the difference of when I see these comments, why I get frustrated, because I know if this person knew how developmental programs and coding worked, right, then they would see the world in a very different way. It's just the way it is. According to documents obtained by the Federation for American Immigration Reform, the internal review also found many sponsors listing the same address and many of the applications coming from the same IP address, a numeric designation that identifies its location on the internet. Okay, so you guys know what IPs are. IPs are like your computer serial number when it goes on the web, but you can change it. You can hide it. You can modify it. You can have it literally come from a server that can't be tracked that's outside of the country. All that stuff. You can go dark web. You can go and do 4chan. You can do all these things, right? If you don't know what the 4chan or dark web is, think of 4chan as all right, think of the internet as you're in the Matrix program. And then think of when you're on the ship and they just pulled you out, that's 4chan. Once you get back to the city, right, of the, where the humans are, you know what I mean? That is the dark web, right? That's where you're going to have a very interesting or good time. It could go either way. So the point is, with this thing, they're finding that somebody was mass abusing, essentially, IP addresses, putting down sponsors that weren't real. And, you guys know what sponsors are. Somebody comes into this country. They claim that somebody's going to sponsor them. They fill out their forms to get, potentially SSI benefits as a refugee, asylum seeker, an entrant, things like that. Now, remember, you will get somebody in the comments who will have a mind that's ready to explode because they'll say, there's absolutely no way in the history of existence that an immigrant, or potentially an illegal immigrant, right? There's no way, possibly, that they could get Social Security benefits. That's not so correct. Retirement benefits, they can't get those. They don't have enough quarters of coverage. SSDI benefits, they can't get those. Not enough quarters of coverage. But program like SSI is specifically built to make sure that immigrants who come into this country have something to keep them alive. It's not a bad thing. It's just, the past 4 years, when it comes to the amount of immigrants allowed in this country, has been, let's just say, abusing the purpose, right? So if it has a fundamental purpose that it was supposed to stay with or whatever, it clearly the purpose of SSI was being abused. Now, I'm going to be doing a video and I'm sure I'll get some shit for this, but the bottom line is I was looking at the statistics of SSI, which are shrinking. The amount of old people, immigrants, and disabled on SSI is going down over time, but yet magically now it's going way up. You know why? Because there's a lot of new immigrants on the SSI program, right? And the only reason we know that is because Commissioner Martin O'Malley made a video explaining about how many people are actually on it now. And we didn't have those statistics, right? Because around December of 2021, they cut off giving the public those details. So if you're sitting there being like, is there a shadow government playing games with us? Always. It's not, is there? Of course there is. To what nth are the, look, there are literally secret societies inside secret societies in the government. That is the purpose. They are legally at the federal level required to lie to us, to protect the United States from its citizens, so that it has to lie to us so that we don't potentially create something that could harm the USA. I know it sounds terrible, but that's actually the way the rule works. The government, must lie to us about certain things for the protection of the United States, because we as citizens might harm the federal government. Because remember, federal government, that's baby right there. We don't have that. Everything goes to hell. We don't have baby, goes to hell. And then of course you have blue tie or red tie, or in this case you have, blue dress and red tie, and they go battle it out, right? And then magically nothing changes that much. That's really good for us. It's always a good show though. I like eating popcorn when they're choosing the president. I feel that's the best way to handle it. Maybe a little chocolate, maybe a little smoothie, works out well. All right, let's keep reading through this. One IP address in Tijuana, Mexico was used a mere 1,328 times, according to FAIR. Other examples of fraud included plugging in the same exact answers on hundreds of applications. In some instances, the same answer was used by over 10,000 applicants. And that's the thing. We know that there's abuse, but we also know that there is now an army of people that are going to be showing up over the next couple of years on SSI benefits that are immigrants who are quasi-legal in this country. Now, look, here's the thing. You may have noticed there's an epidemic of, what do they call it? They called it epidemic. The men have an epidemic of, what was it? What was the word? They used a word, an epidemic of loneliness, right? Because apparently men are very lonely because women have changed into this new role and they have no need for men, right? Because they're like, well, I'll just hire somebody to mow the grass. I'll hire that person to do that. Clean out the gutters, hired, cool, done, blah, blah, blah. So we have this world where you have a lot of men are now not doing what they're supposed to do because it's not wanted. And women are, having whatever the men were supposed to do. They're just hiring people to do it. So what's interesting about this is that we are not making enough babies. Our fertility rate is bad. If you go look at the charts where the actuaries basically figured out the fertility rate, that's the main problem. And yet that's also the number one thing that they get wrong when they do their actuarial, math for how long these trust funds are supposed to last. Because when you look at their graph, right, the fertility rate, how many kids, women are having, right? Whether they have a husband or not, whether it's a baby daddy or not, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter. Just how many kids they're having. It's flatline. But in the real world of America, that thing is a ski slope. It's a double black diamond ski slope, which is like ultra extreme. I think they have a triple black diamond now. I'm not really sure. But double black diamond, that means there's moguls, there's trees. They put little gnomes in the way. It's not a good time. It's not a good time. So the point is, as a result of that, we have a human being problem. We don't have enough of them. We need more human beings. We need more immigrants. Now, of course, the question of how good are these immigrants for the United States? How good are these individuals for America? And yeah, I mean, if they're coming from prisons, if they're coming from jails and things like that, that's not a great thing. But at the same time, we need humans that are going to work and pay taxes. That is crucial. So like, if you're like, oh, the immigration is absolutely terrible, it is. But at the same time, people aren't making enough kids. They're not. It's a problem. And I just want to point out, some of my buddies, they literally go overseas. They marry somebody, they bring them back over here, and they go over there, and they have a great time. I'm kind of jealous. I hate them all. All right, so let's get this over. All right, out of the abundance of caution, DHS has temporarily paused the issuance of advanced travel authorizations for new beneficiaries while it undertakes a review of supporter applications, a spokesperson told the Post. That's good. Look, DHS is doing the right thing. This is under the direction of basically Biden reaching out. It's a problem because, to be fair, this is part of Biden's agenda, right? And Biden is connected to mass immigration. DHS is under the finger of, because, this is all federal regulation. So unfortunately, this is Biden's plan that didn't work out too well. And I know some people are going to argue he doesn't know. Yeah, he knows. He literally is the head of all the agency heads. Okay, so they have to report to him every so often and give him a status update. Like, when people are like, he didn't know, it's literally his job as president to get updates from each head of each agency. That is his sole specific purpose when it comes to being aware of the federal government's actions. All right. DHS aims to restart the process as quickly as possible with appropriate safeguards. According to the spokesperson, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement will investigate and litigate applicable cases in immigration court and make criminal referrals to the Department of Justice. Sure. I mean, I'm sure there's thousands and thousands of them, but sure. Dan Stein, the president of FAIR, said in a press release that the internal report shows the priorities of the Biden administration when it comes to illegal immigration, getting as many people into the country as they can by any means necessary, and at the risk of national security. It's not inaccurate. He said the program in question was not authorized by Congress and was established in violation of statutory requirements that parole be granted only on a case-by-case basis for explicit national interest or humanitarian purposes. Let me read it to you again, because that's actually important. That establishes the intent, okay? He said the program in question was not authorized by Congress and was established in violation of statutory requirements that parole be granted only on a case-by-case basis for explicit national interest or humanitarian purposes. So, like, to give you an idea, like, national interest stuff tends to be like, we want to grab all their scientists. Humanitarian purpose thing is like, those people are starving, we're going to pull them over. That's what this usually falls into. And to be fair, a lot of these countries that we're talking about here, humanitarian purpose, like, a lot of them are not doing well. They're starving, they don't have water, it's not a good situation. House Homeland Security Committee Chair Mark Green, Republican Tennessee, issued a statement Friday calling for the immediate end of the program, which we refer to as the CHNV program for immigrants from Cuba, Haiti, Nicaragua, and Venezuela. Quote, this admission by the Biden-Harris administration vindicates every warning we have ever issued about the unlawful CHNV mass parole program. It also exposes the lie by administration officials, like now impeached DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, about the quality and extent of the vetting process, not just for the inadmissible aliens seeking entry, but those attempting to sponsor them, the statement read. Quote, this is exactly what happens when you create an unlawful mass parole program in order to spare your administration the political embarrassment and bad optics of overrun borders. The Biden-Harris administration should terminate the CHNV program immediately. Okay. So, do I think that that's accurate, that they have abused a program to get as many people and fly them in as possible? Yeah, of course. Of course. Just look at what's happening in New York City. I mean, that place is like, overrun with issues now. There's crime. There's people literally in the center of New York City, that are part of gangs. It's not a good thing. Now, with that said, if any of this is like really big news to you, you're like, there's no way New York City's having any problems. Just take the clicker and just go boop, just boop it over just a little bit, and you'll see kind of what's going on there. It's not great. Now, here's the problem. Is this something that Democrats should be in the future? Is VP Harris going to be, like, if she gets elected to be president, are the gates getting welded open again? Are we just having mass immigration? Is this a future that we want? I leave that to you, because at the end of the day, America is supposed to be a free country. I come from a lot of people who are basically asylum seekers, who were refugees. Obviously, you guys know my background. I couldn't, my family members who are, either super, super Jewish or super, super Christian. My family members, it didn't work out in Germany for them, obviously, because of, World War II. It's right around the beginning of that whole process. But I come from a lot of like science and math major people and medicine people too, as well. And as a result of that, to be fair, like when something would happen in that country, we would have to move. So when you're sitting there going, oh, well, blah, 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 you got to understand, like, I do get it for these immigrants. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be here unless America allowed immigrants in. Like, I wouldn't be here. None of us really would. I guess you still have those who like first came here, but even they were immigrants, right? You had the Native Americans, you had the Spanish, you had the South Americans, etc. And then, of course, Canadians came somewhere down the line. So, point is, do I think that there is mass abuse when it comes to immigration? Absolutely. Do I think that we can definitely say that President Biden's like, if you look at different presidents, remember President Bush was like, George W. Bush was like, I wanted to be the education president, which is ironic. It's just ironic. I'm just going to leave it at that. But, when he was like, I wanted to be the education president, and then, 9/11, yada, yada. You have to understand, each president can be summed up as a president that has something about them. Trump, right? I think what would be realistic would be the Jan 6 situation, although you could say the COVID situation. Those two would be, up there. Biden, I would say, basically somebody who had, because it's a rarity that a president wouldn't run again. So, mental cognitive issues, which is age, is what it is. And then, of course, immigration. Those were his two big things. You go back to Obama. Obama was known for also immigration, but also war. Heavy hitter when it comes to war. Like I know somebody was arguing with me the other day about like, which was the best war president. I'm like, that's probably the one that had the most years of war out of all of them. So to be fair, although that sounds very counter, like there's a lot of weird counter stuff out there. Like, when you talk about Nixon, you're like, Nixon hated a lot of people. But he's also the one that feared a lot of people. That's why he passed SSI. Like, if you think about it, SSI keeps the impoverished, keeps the immigrants, keeps the refugees, the asylum seekers, the entrants, and the elderly from starving. And you know which group out of all those you got to worry about? The elderly, because they don't care. They don't have that many years left. Like, when you look at the deck of cards and like letting their hand be known, they don't care, man. They're coming to the end of the line. So, like, the point is, I think realistically, Nixon was afraid, and that's why he voted in the most liberal program ever, But there's all these weird, like, things where you're just like, oh, that president's only going to be that way. That president's only going to be that way. And then they do something completely counter to what you expect. But anyways, I think it's a really interesting article. It's something that obviously Biden's going to get some crap for in the not too distant future. It'll probably be on the news over the next couple of days. For the people who are like, why didn't you report this to OIG? They're fully aware of it. Why does the commissioner know? He's fully aware of it, I'm sure. I'm absolutely sure. I mean, do I know for certain that they didn't know? But I feel internally they would know. And they would have to know. They would have to know what's going on. All right. Now, with that said, I am going to actually be going live after this, where I will answer specific questions. Now, you guys know how the live works. I take this phone, which is almost running out of battery and has grass on it. I take this phone, right? And I go ahead and you call it at the next video and I go live. And then you get to ask whatever legal question you want about SSDI or SSI benefits. Bottom line is this. Don't story mode. Have your legal question ready. Use a fake name. It's only general stuff because I don't know the specifics of your claim. All right. I will catch you soon. But please remember, if you like these videos and they kind of tell you about what's going on, don't hate on me. Don't hate on me when you're like, well, you didn't side with the party I liked. You didn't say his name in a loving fashion and cuddle him in words and pillows. Look, you can vote for, Harris. You can vote for Trump. I don't care. You're going to do whatever. In fact, what I believe is that most Americans would vote for a banana if that's what CNN and Fox News told them to do. So I don't care at this point. Like, you're going to do what you're going to do. So bottom line is, I love you all. I do. If you like these videos, cool. Please remember to like and subscribe. Head over to Disability Resolution Law Firm or Florida. Go to Google, throw some stars up there. Also, if you need me to go through a particular legal issue, right below is a little mini contract where you can hire me for an hour. I will catch you guys a little bit later. Please have a wonderful, wonderful night. And I will see those who want to ask questions in about 10 to 15 minutes because I have to charge this phone. And I want to eat those little juicy fruits that have like the little gummies around them. It's like ultimate gummy bear with a little juice in the middle. Oh, so good. I just realized you can buy those at BJ's. It's just amazing. All right. I'll catch you later. I'll see you soon. Attorney Walter Hnot, have fun, and we'll catch up soon. All right. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye.